Okay, this seems to be working. So, how did I end up on this cave trip? Well, it started a long time ago, and I had a little more hair then, and it was a different color. Well, I met this caver, and he was a pretty eccentric genius. And here he's working on a chromatics computer, which is a very, very early color computer system. And so he gave me a job working with the latest computers. And so here you can see like an HP 1000, and let's see. And this was our pride and joy. It's about the size of a washing machine, and that sucker had 30 megs. We just couldn't believe we had so much memory. Okay. One of the fun things in the job is we got to experiment with people, and I find that much more fun than working with animals, because people give their permission, so if you're doing something with a dog or something like that, then you feel real bad, oh, this poor dog. But with a person it's okay. And I don't know if you know how to stop a heart, but the way that you do it is first you take the outer layer of the heart and you stitch it into the sides of the cavity. So this is the pericardium has been pulled back and made this little basin in there with the heart inside of it. And so to stop it, you just take ice water and pour it into the heart. And that will stop it. So anyway, they had this really advanced computing system at the University of Utah. So we went over to Utah to take a look at the system. And I don't know if it's still like this these days, but there were two nurses, the director of cardiology, and a heart surgeon, and then me and another geek. And so what happened is immediately the cardiology director and the surgeon hooked up with the nurses and left us geeks alone. And we had a day and a half before we were supposed to meet for the surgery demonstration. So we got a car and we went down and went to this really neat cave, Topangos or whatever, Tipanomus. And so I actually got to visit a cave and take a cave picture. And it was a pretty nice cave, but I didn't really have a flash or anything, but I did get a little bit. But the other thing that we did is we went around to some antique shops to look for carbide lights, because I was a carbide light collector. Well, I got into this antique shop and they didn't, they just had some common lamps and nothing exciting. But they had this big box full of stereo cards. And so I'm looking through this, I found this card. And that really was a life-changing event for me, because it started me on a new path. So anyway, we went back to the hospital and we finished our observations. So you can see they had this real nice computing system. And here you can see the little spreader that they use to, spread the chest apart when you do it. So anyway, I was sort of curious about this thing, and once I got back, the first thing I did was I went to the library and looked up stuff in stereo cards, and I discovered that most of the pictures that I'd looked at in history books or many of them, were actually taken in 3D. They were 3D photographs. And I had no idea, you know. You always see the picture of the joining of the rails. Well, that was done in 3D. And so that started me on a new adventure of collecting these old cards. I eventually found a map that went along with the card that I found that showed me where the cave was. And it's, let's see, here's the pointer. Yeah, right in here is you know, where the cave was supposed to be. So anyway, I happened to mention it to Bob, who has spent a lot of time in the Grand Canyon. He says, "Oh yeah, there is a cave down the Grand View Trail at Horseshoe Mesa that has some stalagmites in it." So this set us off on our adventure. And so here we are in the Grand Canyon looking down. Now, I have cards in the back table, so if you want to see these in 3D, you can put them in the little stereo viewer back there and look at them. So anyway, here it is, the Grand Canyon. It is kind of big. And here's our illustrious crew. And we had some other people on the top, so we had somebody take our photographs. And so you can see Bob and myself, and you can see one of Bob's old buddies from work, and Diane was also related to Ryan, who was one of the main people on the trip. And so here we are, we're heading down, and it's pretty steep, and this is an unmaintained trail. And the Grand View actually existed before the Grand Canyon. So this is really the initial place that people really started going down and visiting the canyon. And here's continuing down. We ended up at this really nice campsite at Horseshoe Mesa. And we also continued down farther down in the canyon to a place called Hanson Creek. And that was a real nice little spot. And here's our camp down there. And going along, a lot of times you'd see nice little entrances sitting over in the walls and stuff. So there were a lot of openings that were visible from the canyon walls. But this was our main objection, was Cave of the Domes. And I did manage to get a few pictures in it. But these were not the stalagmites we were looking for. So anyway, we continued around, and we hiked around the Horseshoe Mesa, and just had a fine time observing the beauty of the canyon. So there's an intriguing entrance over there. And we walked out on this point in the very edge, and this is right where the trail goes down and goes further down into the canyon. We went off into that point over there, and from there you can look back up, and somewhere up here is the trail we came down, and I don't remember where it started, whether it was over here or over there or somewhere, but anyway, this was, you know, you had to hike down all of that to get to Horseshoe Mesa. So that was pretty much the trip. And here we are, we survived. It's nice to have support crew on the top to hand you a cold beer when you come out. And so here we are, you know, our great adventure in our stalagmites. And so I took my pictures to cave camp, and I showed them to Hans. And he said, Oh yeah, we've been there. The Big Fort High School kids went down there and did an evaluation of that cave and so on. So they beat me to my goal, and they have a couple of nice pictures of the formations we were looking for. And so that's how I ended up in this 30-year-long adventure where I didn't find what I was looking for. And that's it. Thank you.